Jumping to conclusions is a common problem that a lot of people have. We've talked about before why this is and how you can avoid it. We've also talked about how you can take steps to optimize your thought processes by getting a better understanding of how you naturally think. Now, these are all good fundamental things that, in general, affect the way that we process information in a positive way to be more rational and objective. However, I think that it is time to take these concepts out of the classroom and into a practical setting. Good luck. Now, there's a big difference between being able to control your thoughts in a quiet, tranquil, controlled environment where you can sip your tea and listen to classical music and quietly contemplate deep logical problems, and being in a bustling city street corner having lunch with a friend. It is the difference between understanding and application. This is apparent in any field, really. A person can study all about a subject and academically excel, absorbing all the data pertinent to that field. Yet, when time comes to actually start working in that field, there's still quite a bit of difficulty for them at first, until they have worked in that field long enough for it to be natural, that is. You probably already know that actually going out and making deductions is the best way to improve. My videos simply give you helpful information on techniques that work, how deductions can be structured, and about things that can damage your thought processes and logical faculties. And in order to improve, one must apply these techniques on real people in the big, bad, crazy world. All this is obvious and apparent, so what am I getting at? Well, today we are going to be going over a simple and effective way to go from an observation to a series of conjectures that can be formed into a deduction. Observation is of course at the heart of deduction. It is the first step and necessary for making a deduction, because it is the way that you acquire the information that not only helps you solve a problem, but actually brings your attention to the problem itself. That being said, we won't be going over observation today. I've already talked about it at length in the past, and other people have too. And we just really don't have time here, so if you have any specific questions about observation, feel free to ask me in the comments below and I'll see if I can clear it up for you. I will say, however, that the best way to make an observation stick in your mind is to mentally make a comment about the observation. The first thing that comes to mind, really. For instance, if you make an observation about someone's shoes, think to yourself, those are some nice shoes. Or not, depending on the shoes, I guess. By commenting on it in your mind, it is more likely to stick, and thus you will be more aware of it in the future, near or far. More on the differences between observation and awareness in a future video. Ideally, you want to form this comment into a question, but this isn't necessarily required just as long as you can draw a question out of the statement that you made about the observation. Say, for instance, you're buying something at a corner store and the cashier looks quite tired. You might think to yourself, wow, they look exhausted. I wonder why they're so tired. This leads to the next step. The next step, obviously, is to answer that question. Now, this is the part that we're all familiar with because it typically takes the most work, but so often we try and jump from question to deduction and forget that we need more data for one and to look at the problem from more angles than just the one that first came to mind. So, what I want you to start with is the first answer to that question that comes to mind. I wonder why they're so tired. They probably had a long night. This is a simple conjecture, one possible explanation that is based solely on what was observed and what is generally expected, tied together with a simple string of logic. But conjectures don't have a strong basis and are generally wrong, which is why it is common policy to formulate a lot of them, each a look at the problem from another angle, so that one can determine which is the most likely and move on to forming a proper deduction. And that is the next step, to pose another conjecture that is as opposite as you can possibly come up with to the one that you just posed. So, as opposed to the previous conjecture about having a long night, well, she might have had a long day. Both are on the exact opposite sides of the spectrum, and both could imply opposite results. A long day implies that her exhaustion is as a result of external stress wearing her down, and a long night implies that either internal thoughts and cares kept her from sleep, or that she had to stay up and get something done. By allowing yourself to think of the most obvious and natural solution for you and then immediately temper that with the exact opposite solution, it gets you to think more deeply about the problem and puts you in a situation where you have to look at both extremes. And now you can start to look at possible solutions that fall between those two, setting you up to look at the problem from multiple angles. Over time, this can have a profound effect on not only your deductions, but your internal thoughts as well as your personal life. By getting in the habit of immediately looking at things from an opposite angle from that which is natural to you, you will begin to see that you are more open-minded and objective. Both will result in a lowered influence of your biases, particularly the confirmation bias. As I said, this can also affect your personal life as well. It is no secret that no matter how cold and detached one might be, we are generally most open and emotional when we are with the people that we care about, namely friends, family, and one significant other. This can cause us to make some dumb decisions that we wouldn't normally make. Now, I'm not advocating a cold, emotionless attitude to the people you care about. Quite the opposite, really. What I'm about to tell you can actually help you maintain strong relationships. Sometimes, because we trust a person, we can create a very high standard for them that no one could possibly always achieve. So when they don't pull through for us, we might have the tendency to get upset with them and neglect their own circumstances that might have caused them to not be able to help in the way that you asked. By training ourselves to look at things from opposite viewpoints on the outset of a problem, we train our minds to not only perform deductions, but in general think objectively. Bear in mind that as applying this in deductions helps implement this in your daily life, the opposite is also true. That is to say that applying this in your daily life will make it easier to apply it in deduction. So I challenge you to start doing this. Every time that you're out in public making a deduction in the heat of the moment, stay grounded, go with what is intuitive, and then flip it on its head and think of the opposite solution. So get out there and make some deductions. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like the video if you found the information helpful, and be sure to leave a comment down below if you've got any questions. If you're new to the channel and you are interested in deduction and observation and that sort of thing, be sure to subscribe for new videos every Friday. And if you wouldn't mind, it would really help out if you shared the video. So until next time, all you aspiring detectives out there, arrivederci.